Nia admired his dedication to the land, and she could see herself living a quiet life with him, filled with the rhythms of nature. But as the sun began to set, she couldn't help but wonder, was this the life she truly wanted? Was she ready to live so quietly, so far from the excitement of the world?
Nia spent a few days with Christopher the merchant. He was full of life and energy, always moving from one place to another, always with a new story to tell. "Come with me," he said one morning, "and I'll show you the world." They traveled to the nearby towns, where he introduced her to other merchants, each selling goods from distant lands. He spoke of the riches and adventures they could share if she chose to marry him. "Life with me will never be dull," he promised. "We'll see the world, build wealth, and live as free as the wind." Nia was swept up in the excitement of it all. She loved the idea of adventure, of seeing new places and meeting new people. But as they returned to the village, her thoughts grew more complex. The constant movement, the lack of stability. Could she truly be happy in a life that never stayed in one place? From the hustle of the marketplace, Nia turned to the quiet world of Christopher the scholar. His home was filled with books, and he spent his days reading and writing, searching for meaning in the pages of ancient texts. As they sat together under the shade of an old tree, he shared his thoughts on the world. "Life," he said, "is a puzzle waiting to be solved. Together, we could uncover the mystery." Nia found his intelligence captivating. Their conversations stretched long into the night, and she learned much from him. But as much as she enjoyed the mental stimulation, she felt something missing. The joy, the spark of love. Was it enough to live a life of thought and contemplation without passion? Nia then spent several days with Christopher the healer, observing him as he worked in the village clinic. She watched as he gently tended to the sick and injured, his touch soothing and his words full of comfort. He told her stories of the people he had helped, the lives he had saved, and the joy he felt in making a difference. "Together," he said, "we could do so much good for others. We could heal, we could care, and we could build a life of purpose." Nia admired his selflessness and the tenderness with which he treated her and others. But she couldn't shake the feeling that his work might always come first. Would there be room in his life for her, or would she always be competing with his patients for his attention? Finally, Nia spent time with Christopher, the chief's son. He was a man destined for leadership, with the weight of his village on his shoulders. She accompanied him to important village meetings, watching as he made decisions that affected the entire community. "You and I," he said, "could build something great together. You would be my queen, and we would rule with wisdom and strength." Nia was impressed by his confidence and leadership, but she couldn't help feeling overwhelmed by the responsibilities that came with his position. Could she handle the pressures of being a leader's wife, of constantly being in the public eye? As Nia reflected on her time with each Christopher, her heart grew even more confused. Each man had something wonderful to offer, but none of them felt like a perfect fit. She thought of Prophet Bahati's words, "Your husband's name will be Christopher," and wondered if the answer was something deeper than just a name. Sitting by the river one evening, Nia closed her eyes and listened to the sounds of the water. Her thoughts were in turmoil, but beneath the confusion, there was a quiet voice that urged her to slow down. She had been so focused on making a choice, on picking the right Christopher, that she hadn't truly allowed herself to feel. For the first time, Nia considered the possibility that the prophecy was not just a riddle to be solved, but a journey to be lived. She needed time. She needed to stop trying to figure everything out and instead trust her heart to guide her. Maybe the right Christopher would reveal himself, not through logic, but through love. The next morning, Nia returned to Christopher the farmer's home. She watched as he carefully tended to his crops, his brow furrowed in concentration as he worked the soil. She admired his dedication to the land, but as she walked alongside him in the fields, a gentle doubt crept into her heart. The simplicity of his life brought her peace, but she couldn't deny the part of her that yearned for something more. There was a quiet beauty in the rhythms of farming, but could she truly be content here, away from the pulse of the village and the wider world? As they sat beneath the shade of a large tree, Nia asked him, "Christopher, do you ever dream of leaving the farm, of seeing the world beyond these fields?" He smiled softly, his eyes reflecting the quiet certainty of his life. "I've thought about it before," he said, "but this is where I belong. The earth, the seasons, they are part of me. I could never leave them behind." Nia nodded, understanding his connection to the land but feeling a small distance grow between them. She respected his choice, but her heart whispered that this was not the life she was meant to lead. Nia's next few days were spent with Christopher the merchant. His life was full of movement, of new experiences and discoveries. They traveled to nearby villages, where he introduced her to different cultures and trades. The excitement in his eyes never faded, and Nia couldn't help but feel a thrill in his presence. "With me," he said one evening as they sat by a campfire, "you'll never be bored. There will always be something new, something to chase, something to find." It was tempting, this promise of adventure. But as the days wore on, Nia began to notice something. The constant movement, the endless search for new things, left little room for stillness, for peace. She realized that while she loved the excitement, she also craved a deeper connection, something more stable than a life on the road.